You are in for a treat today. Bill Davidson, welcome to day number 324.
Great. It's great to be here. I always appreciate it. It's fun to do these things, and I really like it because it's a chance to inspire people and a chance to keep them painting, and that's one of my goals in the teaching part of this business.
What are you going to do today?
Well, today I thought we'd have some fun because what I'm going to do is most of the time you see a complete demo. Most artists say that 85% of the work's done in the last 15%. So I'm going to take several paintings and finish them or fix them for people. So it's a more exciting way to see what you go through in that last 15% where that 85% of the work is. And
I think that's a great idea. You know, we did that yesterday with our guest Beverly Ford Evans, and she took paintings that were flat and made them come alive. And I think that's, you know, everybody always focuses on the starts. Let's focus on the finish. I think it's a great idea. Why don't we get started?
Okay, that sounds great. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with this one right here because this is one of the ones I'm probably going to be using in the soar workshop that we're doing in March. And one of the things that happened with this painting, I don't think there's too much wrong with this painting. I'm going to get into some ones that are worse, but I've always said that if I could watch artists or pros finish paintings, I'd always be happy because at some point, most people can tend to get something going, and we always see that in demos, but we never see them finished. So I'm going to jump into each painting, and I'm going to pick up different paintings, and I'm going to talk about what I think's wrong, and then I'm going to talk about and put the brushwork on to actually show you what I would do with it if I was going to bring it up or take it somewhere else.
All right. Now, are these paintings you did in the studio, or are they paintings you did plein air?
Yeah, this is an 18 by 24. So this was done in the studio, and it was done specifically for the purpose of doing the soar workshop. And the reason is this: I actually did the plein air study while we were at the plein air convention, and I was on the faculty. So what happened is we'd gone out to Asilomar, and I set up the paint, and there was about 10 to 15 people around. So I would run over and paint on my painting for 5 minutes, and then I'd run around and paint and help other people for about 10 or 15 other people. So it got to be really fun. I met 10 to 15 new artists, and at the same time, I got a little painting finished. And I actually think not being able to stand there and play with the little painting forever caused me to focus on it. And it actually came out pretty good. And the reason I know is people like it because I'm the worst judge of my own work.
Yeah, well, I would probably go to your studio and pull out a bunch of things from the rack, and you'd be like horrified and say, "Oh, those are awful," and I'd be like, "Those are good. I don't see anything wrong with that one." So it'll be really great to see what you're going to do.
Okay, and because I always say this, I always consider myself an underdog because I started late in this. So my whole goal is to figure out simply how do you simplify the process? How do you talk about it simply? How do you make it as easy to understand? And so it's really kind of fun. This one's not too hard to fix because I think it's kind of working okay. But I want to talk about one thing that really helped with the painting. If you go out to a cylinder, I think what happens is that people really they get everything too complicated. So one of the things that's important for me is how do you simplify the painting and how do you simplify the process? And when you do that, you always get a better painting. So it becomes really one of those things that if you get going, just simplifying it's going to really, really help out. So what happened here was if you go to Asilomar, you'll see that this sand is interspersed all over throughout here, everywhere. And what it does is it breaks up by big value masses. So if what I had to do was just eliminate the sand that was running throughout and only pick a few spots. That made it a real easy painting to deal with. And that's why it didn't take too long to get it going. I think one of the things is that it's not too overworked. And that's part of the deal that I noticed with almost every professional is even if they're using smaller brushes, one of the things is they don't like to just overwork the painting where you lose all the brush work and you lose the nice strokes and things. So it's quite interesting to me. One of the things that I always do is part of it is an attitude. Because I've always been the underdog. And what I mean by that is when I start in, I'm usually painting with people that have been painting their whole lives or went to art school or something like that for some reason. So they're always better than me. So what I usually have to do is figure out, how do I catch up faster? How do I learn faster? And how do I set my mind so that I'm okay? And it's kind of funny because I watch even my first couple of competitions. First time I went out there, it was just like really interesting because I said, I'm just going to go make good friends, have a good time, and learn as much as I can. That took the stress off of me. And that's one of those things that really helps. So I think people need to watch it when they're coming up. Always act like you're in the underdog role. It takes a lot of stress off of you. And also thinking that you can do a good job. I think that's highly important. They now say that people that actually think that they can do it, that's as important as learning the skills. So I find it quite interesting. So if I look at this painting, there's only one thing that's really bothering me right now. I've got good color breakup here. I've got a lot of interesting strokes. I've played with those. I've got all kinds of nice layers going on. I've got warm sitting on cool. I got a cool here and a warm there. And we'll talk about temperature as we go. And I've got a good lead in going back. Clearly my focal area is going to be right in here, but I've got a secondary point of interest over here and then kind of up in here. So you kind of go like this, you hit that triangle, move back and run up to the clouds. So if I only see one thing, is this cloud shape right here is a little bit kind of a triangular or a square, just a little bit of one. So as opposed to leaving it like that. Now this is what most professionals look for right when they're doing this last part of the work. So what I'll do is I'll just come back up in here. And I think one of the easy things to learn about on edges is if people pay attention, I don't have to go in here and wipe this whole cloud out. That's what I used to do. If you come right back in and you start to play with it, you can come in and just break up part of that cloud, and it'll totally change the shape and it won't be so squared off. And it's still a little bit rounded. I may come in and eat up a little bit more of it. And it kind of starts to help that cloud not take that shape. Now, it's interesting, if you watch real professionals, they're really good at their shapes. So it's hard to learn at first, but then you start to see those type things. That takes care of that shape a little better. I need a little more viridian in that. So I'm matching this color going on up in there a little bit more. And what that'll do is that'll come back up in here. And that, even though people go, well, that's not a big deal. It is a big deal if you send a painting like this out to a gallery in an expensive frame, because people don't realize this. Most galleries will tell you shapes are the first things people see. I've lost a little bit of the shade on the back side of that edge. So one of the things that I've learned to do recently is I used not to use black at all. But they've got the new transparent blacks have changed the ball game. So I'm using, what's that stuff? It's called Chromatic Black by Gamblin. And so what I'm using.
It's almost a perfect neutral too, isn't it?
It's the perfect neutral. It really almost is. And so what happens is I can mix. What I'll do is, especially with your learning, one of the things that's amazing to me is that when people try to do their values, I'm going to reach over here and get some more of it. When people are dealing with their values, they may put out that little value chart, and I see them on their plein air easels when I'm teaching workshops and things like that. So, but what happens is I'll just take that black and I'll get people in the workshops to kind of lay out the black and maybe put a little bit of buff titanium or white in it and just lay those values out in a set of colors I mean, a set of values, so that they have little puddles of those values. And so it makes it real easy for people to see their values, and they have that color right there, and the color's already mixed. So I found that that's one of the most helpful things for people, especially because now they can see the value of the color. I'll put a little bit more of the, that's a little bit dark. And so I've also learned this too. There's been a beauty to COVID. I've been researching now for, I guess, 4 months, and I've been back through probably hundreds of art books.
One thing I'd like to say about you, Bill, is that for those who don't know, Bill was a trial attorney for most of his career, and then he started painting. So he applied his learning in the same way he would have learned if he was studying for a trial. In other words, he went to the very best, studied under the very best, and tried to figure out their systems. So he ramped up very, very fast. We're going to be doing a project together, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to be doing a nice big online workshop, which I think is it's the best way to get really in depth. And because I've had hundreds of hours and been through all these books, I've been prepared for it now for about, I don't know, 4 to 5 months. So I'll show you as we go through my studio, I'll show you part of the research, because as a lawyer, I was a researcher. And what it proves to me is this: I was the worst painter that anybody'd ever seen at one point. And that's when I started. And I wish you'd been around then, because I was taking workshops all over the country. I probably went to 20 in 1 year. But one of the things is that I love researching. So I went back through all these books, and we're all building on top of each other. There were great artists that wrote all these great books. And so what it did was it allowed me to go in. I went back through all these. I've watched a ton of your videos, and I've just been pulling out pieces where it makes it simpler to understand the process, and it makes it easier. And then, because the point is this: if you read all the things now, if you can repeat the process that somebody else has simplified, and you understand the process, you're much better off. You're not having to make all the same mistakes I made. And so that becomes the really important part of the thing. I think all that, now there's so much learning that you've made available to everybody. I mean, you really need some. Now
you told me, excuse me, that you kind of want to get out of doing live workshops because it's eating up so much of your time. How many are you going to do and live this year, assuming you're allowed?
Well, I'm only going to do a few of them, because I think it's and they're going to be smaller ones. I used to teach like 8 to 10 a year. So I've taught I've taught over 150 workshops, and I watched people and learned what was the easier way to deal with it. And so mine's going to be very limited. So I won't be doing them. So, and I think one of the beauties of the SOAR workshop is this: they could rewatch it over and over and over again. And I always wished I was able to do that when I was in those other classes, when I was taking workshops. So it's one of those things where I think that's valuable, because now they say, I don't know if people ought to take a look at the book called The Talent Code. What they did is they went in and they analyzed how people got so good at certain things so fast, and they went to hot spots where people were learning at really high speeds. And part of it was that you have to absolutely slow it down. So when I was learning, everything was speeded up. And I think that serves a nice purpose. But I think the other part of the equation that has been missing all these years is we need to really, really slow it down, understand what we're doing, and then that way we can be in control of the painting. So I think
to that point, you and I started this dialogue months ago, and then we started studying how people learn and what works and what doesn't. We consulted with professionals in that area. And as a result, this is the first time, I think, probably in history of the art world, where these tools are going to be implemented in a workshop. And yet it's a workshop where people can tune in from, from Africa or India or anywhere. They can watch it live or they can watch it later. And it's going to make a huge difference in their work, because we found ways to help people retain things more, to learn faster by learning slower.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's really interesting because I get these nice emails from this 85-year-old lady in Hawaii who can't travel, and she's so excited. I get an email from her every couple of days. So I love it. It's just great. And I don't know any other way. I mean, I don't know. For me, I'm telling people that are going to come to my workshops, I really want them to see this first, because only during those 4 days, if you're teaching a plein air workshop, you won't be able to go through all these new slow learning tools we've learned. So this is the only way it's going to get out there, where it's going to be thorough and full, because all my other workshops, I think, or most of them, are actually plein air, and there's not going to be time. And if you have the newer tools under your belt, you're just going to be way better off, because
okay, stop talking and start painting.
Okay, that one's done.
Hey, by the way, I want to tell everybody, I'm going to talk now. I want to tell everybody that we have prizes, and today's winner of the plein air apron is Tam Lynn from Vermont. Today's prize is my book, Make More Money Selling Your Art. And the way to do that is by leaving a comment. And we'd love it if you would just tell us where you're from. I'll start reading off some of the places watching as we go. And also a reminder that the 28th is coming up soon. We canceled the plein air convention yesterday. And as a result, the plein air salon is going to be given away at the prizes normally given away at the convention are going to be given away at the plein air live virtual competition. And as a result, the 28th, you want to get that in, and then the 15th of March will be the very last for the year to enter. Okay, Bill, I guess you finished that one. So now.
Yeah, I did finish that one. Let me just say one thing about it. I think this painting, I don't know that I do anything else, but I left a little bit of a hard edge up here at the top left, just to pull your eye back up in here. And I didn't over accentuate these clouds to take away the interest from that focal area. So I could have popped this light real bright up here, and it would have taken the interest. So this has to be secondary, and it has to sit back just a little bit.
All right.
But that one.
So Bill, let's do an auction for that painting right now. Let's just go ahead and auction it off.
All right. Well, that's what I think we're going to do that at the soar workshop. Some of these paintings.
Yes, of course.
And this one's created specifically for that.
All right. Well, I'm anxious to see what you're going to do next. Okay, so if you just tuned in, this is Bill Davidson, and Bill is working today on finishing paintings. In other words, what are the last little jewels he would do that are, drawing the eye in the wrong place or something. And so now, can you move the camera down slightly so we can see the full painting here?
Yeah, I may have to move it back.
That's a beauty. I have one very similar to that hanging in my office, as you know, that you did. That's a beauty.
Is that better?
Nice. No, that works.
Okay, so this is a 30 by 30 here, and this one is headed. This one we're not going to be able to auction. It's headed to Montana Trails, but
well, first off, walk us through. When you designed this painting, where did you want the eye to go? How did you want to lead the eye in?
All right, so that's always one of the big questions. So this is clearly my focal area, and if you squint down, you'll see this is probably the hardest edge up in here, and the darkest dark to the lightest light. So the idea is to run you through the stream, run back up, catch this, roll back up this way, come back up, hit your clouds, and roll over into here. Same thing. I can roll you back. This light coming through this way runs you back up here and right up in here. And the clouds run you back down into your focal area. This cloud runs you down here to pick up that. These clouds run you back down into here. So everything's either pushing you into the painting and kind of move you towards that focal area. So it's just, I think the part that is really kind of interesting about this is once you get, they call these type things hard skills. Design and shapes are basically, that doesn't mean they're hard to do. It just means they're like the part of like a construction guy cutting it and getting it right. And then mixing paint and applying the paint, it would be considered a soft skill. So they always say, work on your hard skills first so that you know, and those, once again, that doesn't mean hard. It just means they're the ones that define the painting and the big shapes. So in this one, if I look at it, one of the things that bothers me is that this shape, something happened here. It's not quite finished. And I think I'm trying to set this line off from a different height than that line. And people go, well, why is that so important? Well, it's hugely important because this is where there's a value break. Anytime there's a big value break, if you focus on these lines alone, this alone will save you, it will actually change your paintings. That one tip will change your paintings immediately.
Would you repeat that? Help me understand that one more time.
Okay, so anywhere there's a strong value break in your line, like right here, these lines are really important. So what we do is we get in here and we spend all our time working on the little flower or the trees and everything in here, when really if we just spend 90% of our time watching how this line rolls and how this line rolls, we will absolutely immediately increase our paintings by probably 15-20% as opposed to spending all our time playing with these trees. So anytime there's a value break, and I'll say it again because this is hugely important, if you look at successful paintings, the way the value break big lines are is what becomes the thing that people see from across the room.
So would you explain for those who might not know what a value break means?
Well, yeah. So in other words, wherever there's like a real light color going against a dark line.
So a contrast.
You have the contrast going on. Same thing up here. You've got this dark and this real light. So if I step back, I can see how these lines change dramatically. And that's the important part, because if people are looking at a painting when they first walk in the gallery, they're going to notice those lines immediately. They're not going to really focus on what's going on up in here. So these become secondary importance by putting them in the order of importance. These lines are way more important. So if this line here reaches the same height as that line, that's not as interesting. So these lines really have to be exciting. One of the things I'm going to change is this, because this line there is just not exciting. And these two meeting at the same peak is not exciting.
All right.
Now, people go, well, that's not that big a deal. Well, it's a huge deal, because here's the thing that happens is, as opposed to really focusing all your time and effort down here, if you focus on these big lines, you'll raise the level of your paintings immediately.
Okay.
So.
All right, prove it.
I love it when you talk to me like that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about it. So the thing is, this one's up that high, that one's there. I'm going to take this one up higher than that other one. Now, once again, I've used the easiest way to read your values now that I found is to go with chromatic black. And I mixed up 5 or 6, and I can immediately pick the right value from my puddles of chromatic black, and then just throw in a little color to it, and all of a sudden it makes you see and get on that value way quicker than if you would otherwise have done. So this chromatic black to me is a game changer in the industry, especially if you're just learning.
Using the chromatic black to increase or increase the value.
But I lost you there for a minute.
Tell us again.
I don't know if it's you or me, but it's coming in blurred.
Okay.
That's a
Sorry
little
about
better.
that.
Go ahead.
I'll just
So,
let you keep going. Sounds like I've got an internet problem.
so you see how much more interest happened just by changing that shape and raising it up a little bit. So let me go back. I'll talk about this for just a second because I think I understand your question. If I use a puddle, if I mix up, say, 6 to 7 puddles of chromatic black with a white or a buff titanium, I see my values on my palette. And that's like practice down there till I get up here. But by using the chromatic black, if I get ready to mix that, I can get real close to the value immediately. So I'm just not hitting the wrong value. Now, because when you're dealing with color, the one thing is this. Everybody knows that in color, you think about the value first. So if you're asking the right questions on color, you'll go, am I in the right value? Am I in the right color? Am I in the right temperature? Am I in the right intensity? So the value is always first. So with this chromatic black now, I can change my value quickly, or I can go right to the right value a lot easier. And then it makes it then I can just throw the color in I need because it's a neutral, and because it's chromatic, it's a transparent black. So see how that changes my actual look of my mountains? How much better that reads than it used to. So that's a big change. In my opinion, it may not be in yours, but now I'll go right down here too. This line here is just too straight. Once again, it's a big value shift. So I just, wherever the dark reads the contrast to the light, all I have to do is come in and play with this top edge just a little bit, and it works out fine. So by using once again, I can go straight to a puddle of chromatic black and come in with my yellow in a fairly close value. Now, one of the things you can do with this chromatic black is also this. If I mix this color right here, which is yellower and more intense, and I get back here, it obviously drops down and gets a little bit darker, a little bit redder, a little bit less yellow. So by using a puddle of chromatic black, if I mix this color, I can take some of that chromatic black, slide it into this color, and move that color back, because what it's doing is it's making it less intense. And that's what I'm looking for. Now, it's a little bit more complicated than that when you're actually dealing with the whole thing. And then, of course, everybody, I think, knows this. You test it first. So you just don't go in here and mix a tremendous puddle. And then you come in and then you start to play with this edge. So I'm pretty close now. All I have to do is put it in there. It's a little bit light. It could go maybe a little bit darker and just a hair redder. That's dead on. So now one of the things, let me explain this. This painting was finished, I thought. And so what I did was I used Galcid light and 20% Gamsol, and I mix it up in a jar, and I completely seal the painting. So that when I come in here, what I can do is, if I screw this painting up, I can come in and actually start to, if I put something on here and it's not right, I can wipe it off without it sinking in there. See, so if that's the wrong color and it's too green, I can now come in, my painting's not ruined. I can come in, I use the blue shop towels because they don't leave a lint. I can take it off. I've created a mistake there because I'm not quite dead on. It was a little too green. So by doing this varnish over them, what you can do is learn immediately how to go in, fix a painting without the fear of totally having to start over and ruining the painting. So just by playing with these line shapes a little bit, again, I'm just playing with the line part of the shape, and all I have to do is come in, and then I can come back in, and I can start to fix these things very easily. So, and I can't ruin the painting because I can pull this off. If I get it wrong, I can pull this off pretty fast. So I'm going to take it up just a little bit higher to meet that shade. Now, as you notice, I'm not doing like big strokes because this is finish. So I'm just playing with little things. Now for me, texture is probably, I always say this, if you are around people that can really, when people who can paint with great texture and great fluidity and great brushwork, there's an elegance to their painting that's undeniable. It's real. And why is that so? It's because it's so hard to do. If you're learning, you're better off with a little bit of a smaller brush and playing around a little bit, and then start to learn how to handle big strokes later on, because it's very difficult and it's very hard. So I think that now takes care of my problems. So, and people go, well, was that important? It's very important.
Simple fix. I
So,
said a simple fix.
Simple fix. This is a little bit dark up here. I'll put a little bit more. It's just a hair dark and a hair cool. And it's not quite, I can see, whoops. Once again, if I get up here and I goof it up, because it's already sealed.
Bill, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Okay. So somebody asked, explain how you reseal it before you work on it, or how you seal it.
So what you do is you take the Galkid light, and I use about 20% Gamsol in it, and then I seal it with one of these big brushes. I just coat it completely, and then I always draw it down. It's bigger than this for size, about that big. I'll get it all over there, and then I'll always pull it down, so I'm not going, if I go crosswise and I leave a little, it may create a bead, and that'll catch it in a gallery. It'll catch some light to it. So then once it's all done and it's an even coat, and you can tilt it up and look at it and make sure that absolutely there's no beads in it or excess fluid. And so it's completely sealed up. It's Galkid lights all over it. So that way, and it has to dry. Don't start painting into it while it's wet right away. And then usually if I'm repainting the whole area, I'll put a little bit of that fluid, that Galkid light and Gamsol over it, just a little bit, and may paint back into it. And you'll also notice that when you do this sealing, what you're also going to notice is that it brings up all your values correctly of how it's going to look in a final varnish. So these darks get richer and all your colors get a lot richer when you're playing with your painting. So getting it like that, you start to see how it's really going to look when the final varnish is on it. And like I say, if you're going to be dealing with a big painting and you're going to ship it out, then you've got a whole different game going on. So you don't want to be shipping out in a nice $800 frame and shipping bill, and you got 2 weeks of work or whatever you got in this painting, and the finishing part isn't right. You want to finish them right. So I think that's the easiest way to seal them up. And I've been doing it for a long time, and it actually works, because I seal it with the Gamvar gloss varnish. I want a little bit of that shine look to it. And one of my galleries, a legacy gallery in Scottsdale, says they really like that look. So.
All right. So you're going to work on another one now?
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and play this video about the SOAR workshop while you're getting the next one going. All right?
All right.
Are you an artist who's trying to get to the next level? Learning to paint can be frustrating, and we've met artists who have attended lots of workshops and watched lots of videos, but feel they do not make fast enough progress. Don't feel badly. It's not you. You see, scientists have recently discovered that learning itself is a science. To learn better, instructors need to employ these new scientific discoveries. It turns out that the way you present information helps you retain more. The methods of teaching help things sink in. So instead of retaining 5 to 10%, you retain much more. Now the world has turned to Zoom teaching, which sometimes makes learning harder, thus compounding the problem of learning. At Streamline, we decided we needed to reinvent how we do things. So we studied these scientific learning methods. We interviewed top experts on learning, and we developed a system to help you learn better, faster, while retaining more. Introducing SOAR, Streamline Online Artist Revitalization. Our goal is to make online learning better and help you achieve rapid transformation. Best of all, it won't feel scientific. In fact, great teachers use these techniques and you don't even realize they're being used. Yet you tell yourself, that's a great teacher. And as you start painting, you realize just how much you retained. As a result, you'll transform your painting, and you'll do it faster. And the more you practice, the more ideas will positively impact your painting. You'll be painting better. You'll feel less frustrated. You'll retain more. You'll make faster progress. And you'll be much more satisfied with your painting. Streamline is introducing a series of SOAR workshops featuring top artists who'll be employing these learning techniques. These workshops will not only make you stronger, faster, they will also have new workshop features, like the ability to invest in a one-day pass, and private Facebook pages to communicate with the instructor and fellow students. And there are even follow-up sessions for 3 months following the workshop to reinforce certain concepts. Watch your email for upcoming SOAR workshops from Streamline.
Okay, Bill, you're back.
All right.
Can you get
Great.
a little closer to that painting?
Yep, I just saw that because I couldn't see it from before. Okay, now I'm going to do a couple of little ones, and then I'm going to go to a bigger one and do some major changes to one bigger one as
All right.
we go.
Now, we're having a hard time seeing that for whatever reason.
Let's see.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, we can see it. Thank you.
Is it
Do
too
you
little?
often paint things in frames? Is that when you kind of see the mistakes?
Well, the reason I'm doing this is I want to see what that looks like in the frame before I get ready to sell these things. So it helps me. I don't do it when I'm in the middle stages, but I'll pull one out. If I know I've got to paint somewhere on an edge, what I'll do is like right around here, I'll pull it out of the frame. But if it's just in the interior, it doesn't bother me to do this because I'm just doing little subtle shifts. And so that's all I'm trying to do. Can you see that painting now?
Yep.
Okay. So one of the things about this painting is this is a favorite fun one of mine because it's got, I've retained a lot of loose brush work and I've got a lot of broken color. So this is a little study and I find them to be really, if you can keep this type look in a big painting, it's way more exciting to me. And I think it's way more exciting to most artists. One of the fun parts about this, again, I'll talk about this because my focal area is clearly right in here. Okay. And then there's some more area of interest that pulls back over here so that you're still getting, but my leading comes down, your cloud comes in. So see, if I tilt that cloud the other way, this counters that angle right there, which knocks you into that and brings you back down to my focal area. So if I'm looking at this and notice how rich the color is up here and how more subdued it is back here. It's very easy to do if you're mixing these colors. And once again, I can come in and I can take these strong colors, throw one of my chromatic black value things and knock those colors down and move it into that back area. So the only thing that bothered me about what's going on in this painting is that this kind of moves you around over here and lets you go. I never got a pull up into that focal area from there. And I meant to put a touch of light down in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a little bit of light down into here and Now your eye, it doesn't have to necessarily connect, but it has to give me something to where your eye will close the gap naturally, to where I kind of get you a little more up into this piece, a lead up into that area, just a little better, like the light hit right through here and brought you back up. And that's all I really have to do. It may be a little bit bright, so I can knock it down just a hair. And it doesn't take much, but that one little transition there may sell the painting, it may not. So it's just a little piece of the light that came down through here. And I noticed I could have, because this is a higher one, I'll put a little, but the reason I'm doing this is when we talk about the direction of moving you through the painting to the focal area. So there has to be some type of path that runs you back in, and your paths need to lead to these focal areas. Another thing I want to mention is if you look at Frank Kinney Johnson and people like that, they had all this broken color and all this beautiful strokes. And then at the same time, anytime there was something moving that way, they may take a little notch and take it up just a little bit, so the direction's just not too straight. So those type things are great. So right there, it helps me with my painting just a little bit. It pulls me back up in just a hair to get me back up into this painting. And that's all I have to do. So once I do something like that, and people go, well, you're nitpicking. I don't think I am, because it's the directional flow. And once again, it's when this line right here becomes hugely important, and those type things on the cloud. So it's an easy fix. And you go, why waste your time on something that it's because it's important? Because once it gets out there, people are noticing that, and they may not notice it in the gallery. I mean, they won't be able to say that they noticed it, but for some reason, intuitively, the people pick up on it. So, like I say, I'll do one more smaller piece, and then I'm going to do a bigger piece and do a lot more changes to it. A big cloud type scene, which should be kind of fun. So this is a nice, another little fun piece. As you see, I like to be able to paint all types of different landscapes. So I go all over everywhere. And really, I'm pretty satisfied with what's going on in this painting.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill. What I'd like to tell everybody to do is to look at that painting and try to figure out on your own what you would change if that was your painting.
Okay.
All right. Okay, now you can go ahead. Now we'll see if we're right.
Now, I think that's a great idea, because one of the things that happens is they figured out, as you know, from studying people, that if you just give them the answers, they get used to that. People need to struggle a little bit before the teacher comes in and solves the problem, because it helps them to grow way faster. Now, the only thing, let me tell you first before I finish this, I got so excited playing in the whitewater down here when I was painting this painting, and I got it to look to where I wanted it to look. I backed up from the painting and looked, and it was totally competing with this focal area. So I had to settle that down. The only thing, once again, this line is where I'm focusing. So one of the things that I think is some of those edges are just a little too hard. So I hope that's where people went with that. There could be one other fix to me, but so if I come in and it's easy to get on this value and color again, because I just go right to my pile of black. I just want to soften some of these edges just a hair. They just look a little too hard. So once again, see, I'm focusing on this line only. I'm not focusing on any of the real small things. When I come in for the fix is to focus, because you don't want, one of the things that you see all the time is this. You don't want a paste it on look. The only way this look natural is if I'm transitioning, and I call this separation, and I don't know if it's ever been really described a lot, but if I want to separate that from that, I've got to either have a change in value, like right here, or a change in temperature. So I can come in here and I can warm this piece a little bit, even get it way up into here, into that blue. That'll even from far away, it looks like part of that's merging into that background right through here. But it's just a temperature shift. So that allows the painting to look way, way more natural is what it does. So on the back side of that tree, there's a value shift, a dark shift. On the other side of it, it's just a temperature shift because that's the same value as the back of that mountain. So when people go, I don't understand the difference between a value shift and a temperature shift. It's real easy to understand if you see it. So let me just overemphasize the back side of that tree. Now you can see clearly a value shift from there to right there and a temperature shift from there to there. That's what gives the painting a more natural feel, not so much a stuck on feel like you stuck it on. Now I left this strong. This is clearly my focal area right there. And so I left it there, but I may just change one edge so it's not so strong. And anytime you're working your edges, and I learned this from Michael Lynch, which is a really great lesson, was use your edges from both sides. In other words, when I'm really painting this to begin with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint that, then paint this, then go back in and work both edges till I get a natural look. So that kind of helps me there. There may be one other change I would have made in case anybody saw this. Right up here in this mountain, see how it sags? Most mountains don't sag, and these are, I want to talk about one thing. They're not the same value, or the same length, but I don't like the dip in it, and that's just more of a, it's just mountains don't look good that dip under. So there's something interesting about that. Now, what I want to do is, that's much better. And it comes down. That line again, see, I'm always working in these lines because that's what's going to change the whole painting. So now I'm kind of okay wherever I needed to go. So I hope you picked it right. But you see right here, you'll see the same thing. Here's a dark value shift in this line. And then all this is a temperature shift. And so if this is all dark, the line will look too unnatural for you. So, and these things become hugely important. Now, you can look at stuff like this and you can really come up and you can go, it's very clear to see the yellow fading out as you go back. Okay. It's very easy to see that. It's also easy to see my lead in coming back into here and coming back up into here and rolling over to here. This is directing me this way and that way. One of the other things that's important is, and you'll notice this in Frank Tinney Johnson paintings, there'll be a lot of movement in this direction and then movement back this way. So there's a lot of counter angles that if you work those in, they give you a way more interesting painting. So, and that gives me, so when I talk about this is an important thing because I figured it out. There's a great book out there by Harley Brown about the essentials of painting. And he talks about, he's a pastel painter and he does a lot of little Indian girls, but he lays out a lot of good things. If you're dealing in an abstract design, what you want like, if this line is that long, you want this one to be 60% longer than that one, is what I figured out. Now, he was talking about it in value shapes, which is absolutely true too. But I've also noticed that if this line and this line are fairly similar, and there's not a 60% greater than that one, then what happens is they look too close to each other and the lines look too similar. Once again, I'm always in these things, but I'm always trying to figure out, this line has to be hugely interesting. This line has to be hugely interesting. And then the rest of it, you don't have to play in here as much as you think. Oh. So it's very interesting on that. I call it my 60% rule, that if my biggest shape is probably going to be 60% greater than my other shapes, and it totally affects how you deal with these things. It's just really interesting that I just started applying that because of all the research I got to do during COVID. I'm going to grab another painting.
All right. We're grabbing another painting. So if you're tuning in, Bill Davidson is finishing paintings today, just little touches that he's finding wrong with paintings that'll make them improve. Bill is going to be doing a 4-day SOAR workshop. SOAR is our new form of workshop that it's online, but it helps you learn faster and better by using learning techniques. And you can attend it online from, of course, anywhere in the world, or if you can't make the dates, you can watch the replays. You also are going to be part of a private group that will share information, and Bill will come in and do some work with you. And there's going to be 3 follow-up sessions for 3 months following, just to kind of touch base and help you with what you have decided you learned. All right, what are you going to do with this one?
All right. Do I need to back it up?
Nope.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Not too much. That's a little too much.
Is it?
Yeah.
It goes up higher. Can you see all the way to the top, like way up here?
Oh yeah. Wait, it's too tall right now. I mean, you need to tilt the camera forward.
Okay.
All right. And this is going to be the last one because we only have about 4 minutes left. So no pressure, Bill.
Oh, geez. All right. So let me say one thing about this. What I do, I know I used to do tonals in with a warmer, like a real warm tone. I'm using the black with just a touch of Parylene red because it's so neutral, and I'm doing them in only 3 tonal values, and I've eliminated shade and light, and I picked those simple techniques up from a Robert Wade watercolor book. Not the chromatic black part, but only 3 tonal values, with each value being 60% greater than the other, and it's a big help. So the key here is this. I think I have a little bit too much I'm a little too dark down here, even though I wanted this to be clearly my focal area. And I think I'm a little bit too dark here, and I want a little more interest. Now what's happening is you're moving around the cloud. So I want to break this big dark space up just a little more, and I want to be able to play down here too. So what I'll be doing, does that make sense?
Yep, do it fast.
Okay. What I'm going to do is hit these first because I want to show you something. I didn't realize we'd run out of time that fast. All right. So what I want to do is I want to start to lighten things. That's too light. And what I want to show you this because this is more of the big stroke type thing that gets really exciting. Anywhere you go, that's too light. So I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. You can start playing with your color and adding broken color. And if you get a big stroke in, and then you can start cutting into that stroke. So what I'm doing is I'm lightening it, adding more color, and I'm breaking up that big dark triangle at the bottom.
All right.
But I can come in with the big stroke, start playing with it, and then start eating into every side of it. And this becomes hugely important because now I can retain that big, beautiful stroke, and at the same time have a nice variety going on in here. And I'm starting to lighten up the painting just a little bit.
All right.
And then I'll come back in. If I start playing with stuff like that, of course, these strokes back here will start to back up, and they'll start to go more horizontal. So anytime you're playing in reeds or foregrounds, it becomes very important that you start changing the direction of these strokes so that they start to have a natural look to them. And then as I start to go, it's very easy to get in here. And look, don't be afraid. This thing is varnished also. Here's the nice thing about that. And I paint big to small first. So I'll get one wash on, then I'll go in and paint small to big out. And I suggest you try that because it really changes the way you paint. And it's so much easier because you're totally in control of your painting the whole time. And now, so I have the same thing. This is a varnish seal painting. So if I start, I can play with it all I want, and I can learn a lot of things right now because if I mess it up, I'll just scrape this off and wipe it off. And so you start getting to where you take more risk and you're not afraid to, because you can't ruin the painting anymore. And that's a huge thing. What happens with most times when I'm in a workshop, if I come in and change, I want to say this real quickly, because if you really want to learn values, take pictures of every scene you do with 1/3 up exposure and 1/3 down exposure, and then do the same thing with your paintings. You will notice that one of those 3 exposures looks way better than the other. And that's really what values are. So if you're learning values, when they say values are so important, it's the ability to see if I lighten that or darken that or lighten that, you change the whole mood of the painting. So,
Hey, Bill,
yeah.
we're out of time.
Oh, okay.
So, hey, how about you show us your studio real quickly and show us your palette, and then we're going to have to cut you off.
All right.
All right.
So let's see. You there?
No, well, we've lost the camera. We hear the audio. There we go.
Okay. So, I know. I got to show you this way, right? Right. So here's basically, it's a nice, beautiful cabaret built by Wind River Arts, Chuck Raw. And then what I have is I have all kinds of nice paintings I'm working on all the way through. I've got lighting everywhere. I always have a backup mirror behind me so I can see the painting fresh. And then as I this is my research table. So this is what I've been working on for the SOAR workshop. That's just part of the books, and I've probably watched 50 videos. Then I have like little paintings. There's another painting of mine, one of Michael Lynch there, an Avadis Barbarian, another Michael Lynch, little Jesse Powell, the John Buddison. So that's kind of the way it looks from inside here.
Pretty terrific. All right, come back on camera and say goodbye.
All right.
So, Bill, thank you so much for doing this today. We're all looking forward to seeing your SOAR workshop coming up in March. You guys sign up for it. You won't regret it. Bill is a great teacher. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try to take the 4 days off and attend the workshop myself. Don't know if I'll be able to. I've got a really tough boss. He's really mean, but I'm going to try.
Well, and I welcome you to come too, because I'm going to make it fun, and we're going to keep it real simple, and I can go really in depth on these things. And I think it'll, I saw you give 100% guarantee satisfaction back if they're not satisfied in the first day. So
yeah,
I'm all about that. I want you all to be highly inspired, but I want you to have a good time too.
Absolutely. And there are 5 seats available. I don't know how many are still available, but we're doing this from our sound stage in Austin, Texas. Bill's coming over. We can only allow 5 people in because of social distancing requirements. But if you want to be one of those 5 people, if you're in Texas or you want to come to Texas, come to the workshop. Otherwise, you're watching it online from anywhere in the world. And again, if your time zone doesn't work out or your dates don't work out, you can watch it at any time. Go to soarworkshops.com. And Bill, your website, just so that we have it down here, is billdavidson.biz. And if you want to check out Bill or get his paintings or find out more about his other stuff, Bill has also 2 videos with us with Streamline. One of them is called Glowing Landscapes. Actually, 3 videos. The first one is called Landscape Painting Secrets. And then the other one is called Painting Simplified. And we're also going to shoot some more while he's in town too. These are some of our top sellers and some of the most popular. Bill, thank you so much for being on today.
My pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be in this group of people.
Absolutely. All right. You take care. Our guest today was Bill Davidson. I'm Eric Rhoads, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air Magazine. We're here every day at 12 noon Eastern time, lunchtime. And the goal is to essentially be here for you during coronavirus time. We started 324 days ago. We have a video every day at 12 noon. That's me with live guests. And then we have that we're running recordings, and I'm also hosting that at 3 p.m. today. We have the great watercolorist from Japan, Keiko Tanabe, Storytelling with Watercolor. That's today at 3 p.m. And of course, you'll see how she's going to paint this or this. They're both on this, demoed on this video. And of course, we have discounts for that today only. So check it out. Thank you for watching, tuning in. I'm Eric Rhoads. I apologize if we had some technical issues today. We're battling some internet issues here in Austin, Texas. We had a big ice storm, part of the whole vortex, winter vortex coming across the country. And we have ice dripping. We had a tree down this morning, ice dripping from everything. So it may be affecting the internet. I apologize, but we will be here, God willing, every day. So we'll see you then tomorrow. All right. Have a great day. And thanks again to Bill Davidson. Check out his workshop at soar, SOAR, workshops with an S.com. Thanks. Bye-bye.